Greetings and salutations, Dave Dufour here at the Dig Agency. We're doing it live. It's August 7th, 2025 at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And today we are on our one-on-one insurance sales coaching live stream training. The purpose of this call is to help you, yes you, those of you who are watching live, with your sales and marketing questions as it relates to being successful selling insurance. So it's a new format on the live streams that we're doing here, kind of focusing in on coaching and helping you like with where you're struggling at, whether it's in the sales process, the prospect process, etc. You have me for the next hour or less, depending how many questions you guys got, to answer those questions. So if you're watching live, then what I'd like you to do is go ahead and post your questions in the chat, and then I will answer them in entirety and as much detail as I can. And then also, what was I going to mention? Something else. I forgot already. Oh, yeah. We also have an insurance school group. It's called the Insurance Sales Success Group. If you guys are here, let me post this in the chat. You can, the reason I mention this, it's free, it's membership, no cost membership, lots of great training and sales resources for a variety of different insurance sales products. That's the word I was looking for. And 30 plus hours of videos, 3 of my books in ebook format, absolutely for free, a forum, everything you could possibly imagine. Very useful if you're brand new to the business or curious about selling insurance. It's a great place to start. Again, it's free. daviddufour.com/ISS. And also on the forum, we start with the questions there. So we're going to do this type of format weekly going forward. So we're actually going to start with the questions, but if you're in the chat live and you have questions, throw them in the chat and I will get to them. So this first question is from Alejandro Nunez. How you doing, Alejandro? He asks, hey, Dave, I was recently hired by a group carrier, and they provided me with life and health licenses for all 50 states. It's pretty generous. I'm not a captive agent, so I have some flexibility. What products or strategies would you recommend I focus on to really take advantage of, full advantage of these licenses? Okay, so I'm going to push back a little bit on your question, not to be querulous, but to actually hopefully help you out. So my absolute suggestion is that by what I'm reading here is that you have a group carrier, so some company that you work with like a Unum or Colonial Life or something, cut a check for all of these licenses. And the purpose of which is, I guess, to sell their product. Now, I don't know if this is in a call center format or whatever, but my suggestion to you is, and this is really relevant to everybody else, is figure out what it is that you're most passionate about and go all in, triple down, 10x, whatever, and be completely and totally dedicated to that product, that niche, that market, and put blinders onto everything else. One of the things that we get a lot of, and it's understandable because the insurance business, there's so much of it to sell. There's so many prospects. Virtually everybody with a pulse is a prospect for some kind of insurance, right? We see the potential, and salespeople generally are half glass full people. But you have to be cognizant of this temptation to see opportunity and therefore say yes to anything that looks like it could be opportunity. Why is that the case? Because in sales, as in life, you can say yes to anything, but you can't say yes to everything. And the more that you shoulder as far as the responsibilities to learn different products, different markets, etc., the more knowledge that you have to carry around, the more agile that you have to be. And what invariably happens is 95% or more of you out there watching this, if you go down this route, end up being ineffective or less effective. You end up not having the domain knowledge in proper depth to handle a sales presentation, much less know the product particularities. And you end up not making a success of anything. And so where I can kind of speak to this is that, first of all, if you look at my business now, we're strictly focused on final expense telesales. We used to do final expense face-to-face. We used to do annuities heavily, health insurance and Medicare, and market heavily to all of those products. We've wiped the table clean of that, focused exclusively on one thing, and our revenues and success of our company have grown tremendously because of this maniacal focus on one thing. But you say, oh, that's an agency, right? Like that's different. No, it's not. It's even more important as a new agent to focus on that one thing because you don't have the knowledge that someone has who's a year in or 5 years in. And it becomes that much more important to dial in and do one thing. Even at my second year, maybe it was my first year, I remember it. I decided one day I was going to sell Medicare because Medicare is a residual-based product. And then I started cold calling for Medicare. I don't even think I made it in the first door doing it, but that focus and attention, learning Medicare, picking up the carriers, learning the products, the sales process, then prospecting for it, deprived me from the ability to go out and work boring old final expense leads, and I lost money. There's always a trade-off and opportunity cost, but again, because in most cases it's damn near impossible to juggle that much at once, you're likely going to just totally deprive yourself. So this is a lesson I just didn't learn the first time. I've had many iterations of this where I've had to learn it, and it's true at the small levels as much as it is the high levels. Again, Chick-fil-A doesn't sell tacos. Taco Bell doesn't sell burgers. There's a reason for that because they know their brand, their people, and what they come there to buy. And likewise, you should follow the same suit. So I hope that helps, Alejandro. Focus on the thing that drives you, that is most exciting, because this business is a grind no matter what you sell or how exciting or not the product is. And it certainly helps to enjoy the market or the product or the people or the process. So find that one thing and go all in. All right. This next question is from Joshua Barros. Hey, Josh. He asked, I have a plan to study and be licensed in about 3 weeks. When I get licensed, my question is mainly so I don't fail. Should I focus on the annuity side as a way to specialize myself and stand out? Obviously, I would not discriminate against other business. Again, you've learned so far that might be the best thing to do, is just to focus on one thing. However, the more I research, it seems like the annuity space is somewhat untapped. What are your thoughts? Also, the agency I'm going to work with has over 200 companies I write business through, so would there be a better way to organize said companies? Sorry for all the questions. Totally fine. When you're brand new, like it's fun and it's exciting, right? So it's normal to have questions, not a problem. I'm excited, and well, that's the way my brain works. No worries. Okay, so let's talk about the annuity business. I think the annuity business is a great business model to be in. The challenge with most people who do annuities is that, and this is why I look at annuities like an intermediate level product to sell, is because the time horizon to make commissions, not to mention the higher difficulty in finding leads, leads it to not something that a lot of starting agents can begin with. So I'll elaborate. So most annuities are not a one-call close scenario. They're 2, if not more, sales calls. On top of that, there's a cycle in many cases where it takes time, not just even if you close it on the second or later sales call, to then take that money and that application and put it through compliance, suitability to make sure it's a suitable sale to begin with. And that all takes time. And what the point of this and why it matters to you is that most agents who get into this business need to make money yesterday. And when you're starting off with a product that takes months sometimes to even make the commission off of, you're already setting yourself up at a disadvantage. Does that make sense? Add to that, it's very difficult to find prospects consistently in the annuity space. It's not like a lot of life insurance business where you can just dial into a lead system and then have immediate people to talk to and sell to. So with a lot of annuity agents, what you see is they cross-sell Medicare leads. They cross-sell other types of leads, but they don't really lead with an annuity strategy. And if they do, they spend a ton of money on seminar marketing or some sort of very expensive, like several $100s per lead, online lead, and they have to cover a very wide area to stay busy. And it's not so much I'm trying to discourage you from it, but to give you the reality behind the business model. It's very lucrative. Some of the highest earning agents are annuity agents, but they had the capital on hand to float themselves as they established and built a sales funnel. And they also had the knowledge or the connections to create a consistent flow of prospects. And here's the moral of the story. When you get into the insurance business or any business, you can have the greatest product on the face of the planet, but it means nothing if you don't have people to talk to. And so this is why I'm a huge advocate of Final Expense, because with Final Expense, it's not the greatest product ever. It's not perfect. There's problems with it. It's just like any product. But one of the things that it's just great with is it's simple to find people to talk to and then stay super busy. And that's imperative in the beginning for most people starting this business, because the truth is most people need to make money quickly. They can't wait months on end to get paid or have a deal set up and then fall through. So make sure you consider that. If you guys are new to this business, you may want to look at some of these lucrative opportunities as intermediate to advanced strategies once you've established yourself in a very predictable, albeit boring business model, maybe like Final Expense or term or something else. But, you know, you don't always get to do what you want to start with. You work up to that point and then make a pivot later on once you're solid and secure. The best way to look at this business is a 5 or 10 year horizon of learning and growing and being and developing yourself to get to the ideal state that you want to be. It certainly isn't a get rich quick type of business. Okay. So hopefully that helps. Josh, thanks for being here. Appreciate your questions. Now onwards to the chat again. Oh, by the way, a couple of things. First of all, if you are looking for an insurance sales opportunity and you want some more information on how the dig agency works, my mic is low. Okay, I can scream a little bit more. Here, turn your, let me see if that's a little better. Hopefully it is. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Is that better? Is that better? Hello, hello, hello. All right, hopefully it is. Let me check one thing here. We're doing it live here, folks. You know, things happen. Nothing's ever perfect. Okay, hopefully that's a little better. If it isn't, let me know. We do recruit agents nationally at the Dig Agency and provide free leads, amazing AI-supported training, but done with decade-plus tenured sales reps or sales trainers, and just have incredible technology. It's a great place to start this business, or if you're frustrated with your current agency and you want an opportunity that isn't going to cost you an arm and a leg in buying leads. Some of these leads are scams, by the way. This is also a great opportunity. I've got an overview video on how things work. It's totally different than what you've seen. If you click that link that's in the bit.ly link that's below, you'll be redirected to a page. You can check that out once this is over, or watch it now. It's fine with me. And that video will explain how the Dig Agency works and why people partner with us. Okay, moving on. So again, if you're joining here, today's topic is one-on-one coaching. So please bring me your sales and marketing questions. If you have questions about anything about how to be successful in the insurance business, whether it's life insurance, health insurance, annuities, Medicare, I can give you some advice. I've been doing this since 2011. I've run an agency since 2013, probably have recruited over 5,000 agents. We've seen a lot, and I've certainly experienced a lot as an agent. I could probably give you some guidance. Micro, hey, check that link out I sent you. That's probably the first place to start. All right, let's start with Forgui. Sorry if I mispronounced that. I'm a new insurance agent. Could you please provide me with any information that could help my insurance journey? I'm part-time. Yeah, okay. I'll give you some just generic stuff to start, okay? Newsflash. The insurance business is full of multi-level marketing companies, okay? So what does that mean? It means different things to different people. But the problem I see with it in most cases is that these are organizations that are focused not on teaching you how to sell and dialing you into a system that works, but teaching you how to recruit and then multiplying those efforts of recruiting into other people, supposedly ad infinitum. Primerica, you could argue, is this way. WFG, certainly some other carriers I'm probably not thinking of. Any of these organizations that talk about recruiting equally, if not more important than selling, is probably what I would deem an MLM carrier. Why is that a problem? Well, the problem with that is first of all, you make money by selling insurance, not by recruiting. If you don't know how to sell, you don't know how to teach. And then when you go recruit people, they don't know how to sell or teach, and you're not really going to get very far. The other thing in the insurance business is that you want to get into the business of working with an agency that's going to teach you all these things, because you want to have a skill set developed so you can be in a position where if you did want to recruit, there's nothing wrong with it, by the way. It's the timing of it that's the problem, and certainly the system in which they teach. But the timing of recruiting shouldn't occur at the same time that you're brand new to the business. It should occur later, in my opinion. Also, if you look at the comp structure for a lot of these programs, what you'll find with the compensation structure is that it's built to encourage recruiting. You can't, in other words, can't get good commissions until you start bringing on people after people after people. And more often than not, it's just a giant waste of time, doesn't really yield anything of substance, and should be vastly avoided. So lesson number one is turn your spidey sense high for MLMs. If they talk about recruiting in their sales pitch, and that's the thing they really focus on, run. Just do that, okay? The second thing is, kind of like the counter to that, or the contingency to that, is find an organization that actually wants to teach you how to sell insurance successfully. It doesn't have to be my agency, the Dig Agency, while it's the greatest agency ever, of course. There are other really good agencies out there. But just in your process of discernment and learning, figure out what they focus on. And if it's sales first, and they've got a system to teach you all that, along with leads, then you're doing pretty good. Let's see. Last thing I can share with you. Discernment, leads, agencies that are... you have to take the standpoint of interviewing the agency that you're thinking about joining, not just letting them interview you. In a normal job environment, we expect to be interviewed, and they lead the charge and ask us the questions. Likewise, in an agency environment, that's the case, but you should be grilling them because most of these organizations, many of them are MLM focused, they'll take anybody with a pulse, or if you can fog a mirror, you're hired. So you really want to question them and ask them questions like, so how do you guys generate leads? What makes you guys different from another organization? How important is recruiting to selling? How soon am I able to recruit? Or is this something that comes later? And asking these questions helps you see between the lines, because remember, because they're always out to get as many people as they can, they're going to tell you everything that's amazing and of complete benefit to the company. They're not necessarily going to be completely honest about the shortcomings. Every agency has pros and cons. Some have a lot more cons than pros, but a lot of the people who own these agencies are amazing salespeople, very charismatic, and they know what not to say. So it's incumbent upon you to figure this stuff out and ask questions. And what you find a lot of times is you get immediate pushback, and that's always a red flag. Make sure you keep the questioning, I would say, respectful. Sometimes too many questions can be disrespectful. It's all in the tone and how you set yourself, right? You don't want to interrogate these people like you're a cop or something. But you do want to ask these questions in a sense of in good faith, that you're really just trying to see if this is a good fit for you, and you don't want to waste their time, because it's true, and you don't want to waste yours either. So keep that in mind if you go through this process I'm describing. All right. Right, Lisa, jump on that video. They'll get you more information there. Hey, Carlos, David recently left agency to sell Medicare, and they made it more hype culture. Yeah, for sure. There's a competing organization. I won't name names. But as soon as you get to the web page, again, here's another sign for you. The page shows the Lambos, the watches, like Miami, and it's a bunch of bros hanging around, young dudes living the life, right? That's probably an MLM. Now, you could argue that they're hitting the hot buttons on marketing, but if you lead with that kind of presentation, especially this day and age, I think, you should have some suspicion. I try to lead with none of that, not because we don't necessarily want that kind of success, right? We want you to be successful, of course, but I like the transparent route. Here's who we are, here's what we got, take it or leave it, and the rest is up to you, kind of thing. So always take their presentation, read between the lines. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. So it was based on the guru name who built a solar company and exited, and now they do Medicare. Anyways, my question's next. Yeah. And they'll leverage that. I mean, they're going to do that. Hey, this is so-and-so is amazing, and now they built this. And I mean, some of that is going to be used, but it's all about the presentation, what they talk about, and then reading between the lines. It's important. So the question Carlos has is, I left because I realized I keep my clients forever, and the commission was low. I was an LOA. Now I'm becoming a HEAP agent to earn more and save money to later become a broker. Is this good? Okay. So again, for the sake of clarity here, and transparency. My free lead organization is a line of authority shop, so we own the book of business. But you have to understand, I don't know how this structure was. If you're not buying the leads and you're not doing the marketing, then you're probably not going to own the book of business. Now, it's different if you buy the leads, you put your money on the line, and you don't own them. That's different. Now, I wouldn't do that. If you're going to be a broker, buy leads, do the whole business, run your own business, finance it, you should own the book of business, right? So, but if you're in some sort of free organization and that's a huge advantage that you don't necessarily get otherwise, then there is a sacrifice to the LOA. It's more painful for sure in the Medicare business because that business model is built on the income you're going to get as an agency in 3 to 5 years, or an agent, not today's income. It's less of a problem in final expense life insurance, where most of the money's up front, versus a renewal-based business like Medicare. But I digress. Your question is, I'm becoming a HEAP agent to earn more and save money. So yeah, so what you're doing there, so for the audience, a HEAP agent is somebody who takes not a consistent, I don't know what Medicare Advantage commissions are now. Like, I think it's like for rewrites, it's like what, $325, give or take. And then it's a renewal of $30 a month or whatever for life, as long as you keep the policy on the books. What a HEAP plan does is you sacrifice renewals, but you get a much larger first-year commission. Correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, Carlos, in any of this, correct me, okay? So Carlos is giving up income in the future for income today. Now, and the question is this a smart idea or not? I think it can be if you're financially strapped and you need to develop cash flow to pay for leads, and you need to be in a position to maybe make your next move to where you can move to a non-HEAP, because I think that's ultimately the best thing to do if you're dealing with a better quality client, is to take the money over time as opposed to the HEAP. It's going to depend on the percentage. Like, are you just getting double commission but no renewals? Like, it just depends what the HEAP percentage is. But it can be a solution to the problem up front, which is if you don't get this and you're getting paid pro rata $325, and then you got to deduct marketing costs, you may be losing money, especially this time of year, right? And then at the end of the year, none of that stuff transacts and pays you till February, at the latest. So it's not necessarily a bad idea, but it's not something for me, if I was in the Medicare business, I would ever do in a continual fashion, okay? Because Medicare is about building residual income for life, I think, not about first-year commission like life insurance, just because of how the traditional structure is designed. Okay? All right. And add anything if you want to that, Carlos. Great. Also, please hit the like button, subscribe button, all that stuff. As a reminder, guys, if you want to check out more about how our agency works, check out the link I just threw in the chat below. Also, I'll throw this in the comment box, if I remember, in the comments of the recorded video. But I might forget, so look in the chat. All right, so Carlos follows up and says, yeah, that is right. Bigger commission up front, and I still get leads, no cost. Oh, okay, that's cool. The leads are better because they actually wanted healthcare. Last agency did bait and switch, yeah. Yeah, the old food card leads. Yeah, those suck. I'm sorry to hear that. Stimulus checks. Yeah, they're just trash, garbage, all that stuff. So that's good. But yeah, no cost leads is actually really good on a HEAP. Why can't you? So my question to you, Carlos, or what I would say to you is, I guess it depends on how bad you need the money. But why not just take a regular contract if you have no cost for it? Do you own the book of business? I mean, I would want to build a book of business, a recurring income. Like, it's cool when you wake up and you have 5 or 10 grand coming into your account every month. If you get sick or something happens in your life, it's like, your money's coming in. And I would absolutely recommend that if you can make it work. If not, get to that point. Recurring income is a beautiful thing in this business if you can build it. Yes, they run their agency through me, Sherry, on the Medicare side. Again, I don't recruit Medicare anymore. That's why we were sending people to them in the email sequence. But I don't dictate or run anything in their business. Whatever they do is of their own design. Okay. Hey, TD. Question: if the customer is a liar, you mean not honest, right? You said if the customer is not honest. I'm calling them a liar. If they're not honest with you during the EAP, They have a touch of diabetes, but they tell me they don't have diabetes. Does that inconsistency affect the approval outcome? Oh, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it depends on the application. If it matters, sure. Yeah, I was, an agent the other day in our Slack chat said, I had a big one. We call them pump fake, pump fake Mildreds. And what happened with I think it was Mackenzie, she said that the lady forgot about her Aricept. And I'll let you search up Aricept and then tell me what it is and you'll understand the joke. But that happens sometimes. They either just forget because they're mental, as in, demented, or they're trying to get through their app. I had another chat. Somebody in the chat said, the guy said he was in perfect shape, no problems. And then they got down to the application question, says, oops, I've got AIDS. The old touch of AIDS, right? I mean, stuff happens. So yeah, I mean, are they lying? Are they forgetting? Probably both. The ultimate question is what they're forgetting or lying about actually make a difference on the app? And that just depends on the carrier. So what's the solution to that? In the pre-qualification phase of your application, you should be saying, hey, look, I need to know everything about your health. If there's anything that you can recall that is not perfect, tell me. Because if we get to the end of this application and we find out we've wasted your time and you may not get coverage. So prep them. Like, I need to know everything to get you the best deal because they'll find out anyway, is what you want to tell them. Right? And this is especially important for remote sales because in remote sales, there's less patience with the prospect and they'll just hang up if they get tired of it, So be aware of that as well. Another thing you can do, sorry, I keep coming up with different ideas. One of the things you can do is you can have a plan B ready and you can say at the close, hey, here's a plan I'm fairly confident we can get you accomplished for. We're either going to try this. It's this much a month for this amount of coverage. Just know we also have this plan, which I think would also cover you. Worst case scenario, it'll be a little bit higher. Okay, so we're going to do this one first. If there's a problem, we'll pivot to the other one. That makes sense? Any questions? So you kind of pre-sell them on the expectation. This is especially useful even if you're taking the health information from them and you're just kind of like, I don't know, man, this lady's got 20 different medications and some of them indicate heart history issues like, I maybe need a guaranteed issue or ROP product lined up, right? So if you sell them on that earlier and they get them to comply, it increases the chances that something will go through. All right. Hey, Oswald, do you help your agents build their own downlines? And how do you help them, if any, like legal IT integration, marketing costs, among others? Yeah. So where we are now, Oswald, I've gotten to the point of seeing enough of the business that I don't really, the only thing that we support is almost like a franchise. It's not a franchise, but it's like a franchise model. There are companies like Senior Life Services that do this, and I think it's wise. They know what works. They just need people that can bring people in, okay? That's really the thing that if you can create interest and recruit to you, like you're an asset to any organization, okay? But the rest of it, you don't have to know, or it's going to take you years to develop the domain knowledge about it to be able to perform anything effectively with it. So in other words, what we do now is if somebody wants to recruit, first of all, you got to sell successfully, first and foremost. But second of all, what we want is you recruiting and finding people. We don't want you coming up with the scripting or the lead systems or how to train them because we've figured all of that out. We absolutely know it works, and why reinvent the wheel? It's very expensive, costly, and a higher chance of failure. So for us now, we're looking for people if they want to recruit after they've gotten some experience with us to do so on the basis of they have people they can talk to. They can go find people and do the recruiting and then funnel them into our systems and then only exclusively worry about recruiting. A lot of people don't like that because they want to be the big boss. They want to be in control. I understand that. I mean, that's why I do what I do. But where this opportunity would work is if you are willing to let go of a lot of those responsibilities, which are there are many and complicated and expensive, for the one most valuable, important part, which is finding good people, then yes, with us recruiting, that in that case would make sense. But we don't necessarily, we don't need people to send agents to. So we don't have like the traditional like FFL or Symmetry where they just have downlines and downlines. We just need people to find people that are good quality. But everything else we can handle. So hopefully that helps. So we would help on everything but the recruiting for you. You would have to, to work with us, you'd have to know how to find people and recruit. All right. David says, Richard. Hey, Richard. Would you know how Google ads work overall compared to Facebook and others? So we've done some testing with Google ads. We like them. There's a lot more upfront cost to them. You've got to buy essentially a licensing from what's called G2 in order to verify that you're actually who you say you are and that you're licensed and that you're able to represent in each of these states. So there's a little bit more of an expense if you're working with several states. But I always like Google because with Google, and YouTube's like this too, it's a search engine based solution. People go to Google because they have questions. And if they click on an ad, I think you can argue that the likelihood that they'll be interested in the thing you're selling is higher because the intent from the beginning was to search for the thing that they ended up clicking on. Whereas if you're on Facebook, you're just, looking at cat videos and memes and you see a life insurance ad and you click on it. It's a little bit more complicated than that. I mean, the algorithm's very good at showing relevant ads, but also to people who are more likely to click on them than not. So, it works. The thing with Google that's difficult is that there's always a limitation on the number of ads and the number of things that show up. So there's just like very little there's very little ability as opposed to Facebook to rank. So you've got like 3 or 4 options per keyword. So it's going to be harder for a little guy to go after keywords in Google versus say Facebook. But I think if you partner with a big organization that pulls them in, it might be a little different. But yeah. Let's continue. And guys, again, thank you for being here. This is our one-on-one coaching live stream call. If you got questions about selling final expense, life insurance, or any insurance product, difficulties, challenges, questions, if you're brand new or thinking about joining, this is the place to ask them. Again, if you want to learn more about the Dig Agency and why agencies or agents join us to sell final expense remotely from home using our free lead system and amazing training and technology, the link is in the chat below. You can check that out. Okay. Continuing on. I want to own the book of business, says Carl. It's a continuation from this question, but I definitely need the cash flow. Yeah. So it's a trade-off. And I think it's a fair one. If you're getting leads for free, like I said originally, but you're getting the full heap, it's a pretty good deal. The goal is to work hard and save for 12 months. Yeah, 100%. If you guys would look at this as more of a career than like a flash in the pan, like what's going to happen to you the next 10 years or maybe 5 to 10 years, and you give yourself the time to develop and be successful, you'd have more success in this business. It's difficult and it's great, but it does take time. It takes way longer than you think to arrive at the point that you want to. It's just how most things in life are anyway. Hey, microservant, would you allow someone to sign under you and generate their own leads? No. The reason is that we already know it works, and it's a waste of time for other people to try to figure out what works. Most people can't generate leads worth squat. On one hand. The other hand is that there is a legal liability now with leads that affect the IMO and all the partners above the agent. So if an agent does some BS with leads, whether they meant to or not, if you end up calling a TCPA litigant, somebody who does this for a living, they'll be smart and they'll name everybody involved in the hierarchy until somebody coughs up the cash. And then if they don't, they take it to court and then you spend a real load of money. So no, it's not something I'm interested in. And why would you if you're in an organization that provides you leads? Now, you may have more questions to build on that. I've moved towards lead gen biz, but I have an idea for final expense would be a low volume program. Yeah, we're not the place to try that out. Like with us, and I'm not saying it wouldn't work. I just know that we just know what works. There's nothing perfect, but this is like a machine that we just plug agents into, flip the switch on, and then agents call and leads work. Everything works. It's beautiful. It's magnificent. There's no need to do anything out of the ordinary. Hey, Dom. Off topic, 2 seconds. What belt are you in jiu-jitsu? I am a 2-stripe purple belt. I've been doing jiu-jitsu consistently since 2018, since my little girl was born. So that's been 7 years. And almost like right before she was born. And I go in at 6 a.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. One of the nice things about this business now is I can just do what I want. Sometimes I'll go twice a day. And most of what I do now as a purple belt is roll. I go to a few classes here and there, but we've got a nice core group of people and a 3-stripe black belt. I think Rob is. I learn a lot from him. It's kind of like having private sessions. So I love jiu-jitsu. Highly recommend it. If you got girls, my plan is to get my little girls into jiu-jitsu. Well, they're not so little anymore. They're 12, almost 12, right? Something like that. I don't know. Time flies. Girls need it just as much as the guys. So, but definitely a big advocate for it. All right, continuing. Hey, Ken, how long would you say it take to replace my $500,000 current income from my business in a different niche? In insurance? Well, I mean, if you were doing Medicare, then you would need like 2,000 policies. Because then it's 2,000 policies in place. If you're working a standard system, you're lucky to get 200 to 300 a year. It'd probably take 10 years, conservatively, unless you had some sort of, scale involved where you had other agents working for you to accelerate the process. $500,000 hard to walk away from. You must really hate your job. But yeah, it would be very difficult. Yeah, hey, Carlos. Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, good job. Yeah, nice. Turn the purple belt. Good job. Yeah, I do jiu-jitsu. Hey, Chris. By the way, questions. You've got them. Throw them in the chat. I'll keep going until the top of the hour, but if there's no questions, then I'm just going to lay out and be done. So I'll let you guys throw them out there if you want to. Hey, Chris. When the leads fill out their info on the lead form, okay, do they go into an autoresponder where they can click to call in future emails? That's a cool idea. I never considered that. Typically what we do now is they fill the form out. That lead enters our CRM, and then we have a call sequence as a function of the tenure and the success rate of the agent. And then there's a number of times a day we call the lead. So there's some variables there. We also text them to try to communicate and warm them up that way to either call in or set at a future appointment. All of that's AI based. I've never really done much with email. And I might be wrong, but we have done email in the past and just kind of doesn't do anything. So maybe it's worth looking at again. I don't know. We don't do much with email. Hey, John, do you know anything about Tailored Legacy? So Tailored Legacy is Adam Hale. He's been around a long time. He came into the business 2009, he was a mortgage loan officer. If I remember his story correctly, his business failed back during the Great Recession. Came across a Lincoln Heritage opportunity, really went all in, made a good bit of money in sales in the first couple of years until he started expanding and building his agency. And he's done very, very well. He's a good example of somebody who finds the one thing that he loves and believes in and goes all in. And he runs a really effective, successful Lincoln Heritage business model. And at some time, Dana Neeson was working with him for a couple of years when they were venturing into the telesale space. That shut down about a year ago. I can't believe it's been that long. Maybe 9 months ago, something like that. And I don't know why they shut it down, but they did. And so what they do exclusively, now they may do some telesales, but Adam, I believe their exclusive shtick is face-to-face only. Lincoln Heritage may do some telesales, but I'm pretty sure Adam's just doing face-to-face, which still works very well. And I think in some ways you could argue it works very well because there isn't as many people out there doing face-to-face as there used to be. 10 years ago, there was nobody, well, there were some, but I mean, very small percentage of agents or agencies who were doing telesales. It was traditionally just face-to-face. But now the model has moved entirely towards telesales. I would say 90% of the agents coming in work remotely from home for the most part. Nobody really wants to go in the field, and I can understand that. It's a little precarious sometimes. All right. Is your CRM free to your agents? Yeah. So when an agent joins the Dig Agency free lead program, we don't charge them for any of the equipment, so or the tech. So yeah, there's no charge for the dialer or the CRM and any of that stuff. Hey Ron, I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. My daughter is double black belt and twice North American black belt champion. Cool. Yeah. I used to do Taekwondo back in the day. That's how I got started. I actually started Taekwondo when I was 17. I used to play a game. If you're 40, you probably remember this if you're a gamer like I was. I used to play a game called Tekken 3, or it's Tekken 2. And there was a character called Hwang, and the different characters had different martial arts skills, right? And so I remember playing the video game at the old arcade at the mall, and I was playing that character. I was like, I remember it dawned on me, I was like, I want to actually do this for real, not just play video games. So I went to a couple of dojos and then ended up at a local one. And it was cool. I went from like 240 pounds down to like 170 in a year. And I lost a bunch of weight, got in great shape. It's like 11th grade when I did that. It was a very formative year for me. So, yeah, martial arts holds a special place in my heart. Not nearly as frustrating as jiu-jitsu. Let me tell you, jiu-jitsu, you just want to like bash your head in the wall, especially blue belt, right? It's very frustrating but rewarding. It's kind of like selling final expense. All right. James says, hey, James. Roberto, I was calling some retirement centers to meet with the directors to see if I could offer final expense policies to retirees who live there, and also life policies to their employees. Yeah, that's a great idea, James. I have a shameless plug for myself here. Oh, I see, James. Yeah. I have we have a whole seminar marketing system for face-to-face agents for free at the Insurance Sales Success free forum. I'm posting that in the chat. If you guys want in on that, join. It's free, no cost membership. Look in Classroom, scroll down, you'll see the whole seminar marketing strategy. I used to do these too, this is like 10 years ago, but they still work just as well. And it's a great way to generate life insurance and final expense business without spending money on leads. That's the idea. You just have to sell face-to-face. That's the shtick. But it works very well. Even the employees will buy too. It's great. Okay, Chris, yeah. James says, do you have any tips on the ways I could present this to them to get myself an appointment? Yeah, sure. I'll give you some tips. First of all, you're not doing a sales presentation. You're doing an educational event, all right? You're educating the residents on the different options for life insurance and things they need to be aware of and some of the scams they need to be aware of. Another thing that really seals the deal with these places is bringing in food and drinks as a way to just, entertain, So I used to bring like a couple dozen donuts and some waters or some soda, and that was enough. Usually, in my experience, 70% of the senior facilities would let me book. The other 30% wouldn't because there's some bylaws that said, for-profit companies can't come in and present. But almost everybody books if you ask them. And the key thing, though, in my experience, is to promote this well ahead of time. Well, when I say well ahead of time, maybe like 3 or 4 days out, promote it. If you promote it too far back, they'll forget. Well, they're elderly, they don't remember the stuff. And ideally, the biggest pro tip I could give you is actually go door to door and hang flyers or shove them under the door. That's the best way to get the most people to stand up. Even if you got to drive an hour to the facility, like if it was like way out there, and spend an hour doing it yourself, it's worth it. It may be the difference between 5 people showing up and 15 and tripling of your sales. So there you go. John says, can I make $150,000 plus without recruiting with your systems? I would say that's probably on the very top end for the free lead system. For free lead agents, my target for them is very low 6 figures, like 100, 110, 120, or high 5 figures. It is not something that ends up, and I would argue final expense is not a high 6-figure income producing opportunity. The ones that are, in my mind, a good agent should be making $100,000 a year after expenses, if there are any, if you're not in a free lead program. A really, really good agent should be 150, 200. But to get to that level and beyond would take 5+ years selling Medicare maybe ACA, maybe not now. It's a little bit more difficult to do it. Or like an annuity business that actually has leads consistently. Chris says, Taylor was cool. They really left their leads in the system for a long time, though. And I think the majority of the leads were gathered through mailings and foreign call centers. Yeah. Right. Called leads for us along with their outbound dollar. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how they did it. That may or may not be the case. For us, I know that what we try to do is get fresh leads in from mostly Facebook, but some other platforms too as well, as opposed to data or stuff that's like years old. One of the things that I think is important to understand if you're new to this business, you'll start looking at leads and you'll see some leads are fresh, some leads are aged. Is there a difference? Certainly leads that are fresh tend to be better on average, but the thing with aged leads is that if it's a good lead, if the lead itself was high quality and it developed a high quality prospect, it's still good if it's aged even several months. Maybe not as good as a fresh lead, but a good lead is good, old or new, okay? And a good lead for us at my company is defined as somebody who knows it's about life insurance, they understand what it's about, and they willingly opt in based on that. A bad lead is somebody who thinks it's some sort of government good or program, or think it's some new benefit Social Security is authorized, like it's veiled in the sort of like official government talk. You'll sell stuff like that, but at a much lower conversion rate, and people just don't really remember this stuff in my experience. And so the more age they get, they more rapidly become lower quality. So we try to stay away from those leads as much as possible. I want you guys talking to good people, and that's what you should be in any organization, in my opinion. Okay, last call for questions here, guys. I'll give you guys a few minutes. Again, highly recommend, guys, if you want to learn more about the Dig Agency. Again, what makes us different is that we recruit agents to sell final expense remotely from the comfort of your home. You can be new, you can be experienced. You can do this part-time too. You don't have to be full-time with us. So you determine your own schedule, do what you want. We provide free high-quality leads just like I described. They know it's about life insurance. What else? We have great training. We have several decade-plus experienced telesales managers that will listen to your calls, provide you live instruction on what you can do better. They'll either whisper it to you, or if that freaks you out, they'll actually type it up so you could see it pop up on your screen like, hey, say this. And like, we have even experienced agents who get this advice from these trainers, and it helps them sell. It's amazing how good it is. We also have AI-backed technology that reviews every one of your calls, benchmarks it, and grades it, and lets you know what you did right and what you can improve. So there's always a feedback loop to help you get better as fast as you can. And then we have AI Mildred, which is a prospect chatbot we've trained to help you role play with that bot, and it will act like a tough customer and give you pushback, but in a way that isn't like too intense, so you can practice your script, get comfortable with your script, etc. We also have bonuses every week for the top producers and people who produce above a certain amount and at a certain success rate. It's greatest agency ever, and I'd invite you to check it out in the chat if you guys want to learn more. There's a great overview video there that you can get more details on and see if it's a good fit for you. Okay. Would you pay for a month-old lead? It depends on where the lead came from, Richard. I would pay if I could find my type of leads and they're a month old, I would absolutely pay for them, like all day long. I would pay, I don't know what I'd pay for them, but I'd buy them if the price is right. But there's some leads that at a month old, I'd never pay because they're not really leads, or they're just crap. Hey, Micro, can your agents transition to buying their own leads through your vendors? Yes, they can. Most don't, though. Interestingly enough, it ends up being most agents just, it's like, it may be the right thing for you. Some make the transition. There's been a lot that made the transition and they come back to free leads for what that's worth. I think that's interesting, maybe surprising to some of you. But yes, just keep it short. That is the case, yes. Okay, Chris, after a month on the phone, I found out that a big part of the opportunity is learning how to cope with or hang in there with all the rejection objections. What is the best way to handle this? Not to take it personally, to realize and accept it as opposed to fight it. or be disturbed by it. It's just accept it as reality, right? You just have to make the decision that, you know what? People have bad days. They're in pain. They're elderly. They've got a lot of resentment and issues. Really, elderly or not, most people do. And the salesperson always is the proverbial dog that gets, kicked. And the best advice I'd give you is just accept it as just how it is. And don't take it personally. I remember having a client, I knocked on the door, and she answered the door, and she's like, "What do you want?" And she's like in her 70s. And I said, "Oh, ma'am, I'm just here about the card you sent in, and my job's to deliver the information to you." She said, "Hold on." And she put on her bathrobe or whatever. And then came out and sat down. She said, "You know what the problem with you is?" And I said, "No, man, what is the problem?" She said, "First, you're a salesperson. And second, you're a man." I was speechless. I'm like, well, I can't help that. Can't help both of them, but I'm here to help you. And anyways, as I went through the presentation, I learned she had an elderly mother who was probably 80s or 90s, like older than her. She was taking care of that had dementia. And if you've ever taken care of a loved one and they're not in their right mind, my mother-in-law had to for years. Like it drains your soul because it's constant. And she took it out on me. But as we progressed, she warmed up, and eventually she bought from me, and she was very happy that she did. And so you just have to have that servant's mentality, and you just have to have that kind of let it roll off your back and don't take it personally. It's harder. It's certainly harder than it is to say just do it. It gets easier with time. And, if you can do that, you will survive in the business. That's for sure. Hey, Sister Rose, are your agents captive? I do Affleck. If you're going to join us, you got to do your final expense business completely through us. We can't give you leads so you can go sell them somewhere else. That doesn't make any sense. You have to work our leads and with our carriers. But we don't care if you've got Affleck or IUL business somewhere, or what am I forgetting? Medicare, or anything else. So as long as you're 100% committed on final expense, you're fine. You're welcome, Richard. All right, guys. So thank you guys for letting me come on and talk with you today. Hope you enjoyed this content. Please like and subscribe. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Again, in the chat, you'll see the link to the overview page about how the Dig Agency works. It's a great overview. If you've never heard of us, this is a great introduction on how our agency works. The pros about free leads, sales training, and more. You'll learn a lot about us and see if it's a good fit. So make sure you click on that link in the chat. And we will be back soon enough. We're going to be doing a lot more of these live trainings on different topics. We'll have more announcements on this. So again, thank you for being here. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Y'all take care.